Hey, this is Red Band, and you're listening to Pointless here at DeathSquad.tv. Don't forget to check us out on iTunes and Stitcher. Just search for Death Squad. This is a special episode where Kevin did it outside of the studio while on the road. So don't forget to check out nerdmeltla.com to order your tickets for Kevin's Stroke of Genius. That's going to be at the Nerd Melt showroom on Sunset. That's in 4 days of today. It's let's see, what is today? June 28th. It's going to be at 9 p.m. So go to nerdmeltla.com. And don't forget, Comic-Con 2013, Death Squad's going to be there. And of course, you could always go for anything Death Squad related, deathsquad.tv for tickets. And now, here's a brand new episode of Pointless.
This podcast should be American. 110% fucking blood red American. The NDAA. Fuck yeah! Everybody slaying vagina left and right. Cyborg Jesus.
Jesus, America.
Was that your impersonation of that saliva sucking tool that a dentist uses when you're getting your teeth cleaned?
Oh, that was good. I was thinking more of a plane.
Oh.
Like, you know, the little thingies on the plane when you turn them on?
Oh, not a plane soaring through the sky.
No,
the
like the
actual
noise
air
inside
vent.
the plane. When you're in a plane, like, it's like...
When you adjust the little blower valve, that's the one that's gushing recirculated air filled with 100 people's flatulence. Just blasting it into your face and cooling you off. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pointless Podcast, episode number God knows what. I'm sitting in a houseboat in Portland, Oregon, with Miss Bria Grant. Say hello, Bria Grant.
Hello, Bria Grant.
Lovely. Just finished a podcast with Daniel H. Wilson.
Yes.
And
welcome to the podcast. What am I supposed to say?
No, that's perfect. That's better than I could have done. First of all, just finished said podcast. If you have to go get ready, by the way, you can go get ready.
Yeah, I'm going to go get ready.
Okay. If you want a listening exercise, here's what I suggest. If you want to experience the interview the way that I did, listen to it the entire time with the crippling fear gnawing at a large percentage of the back of your brain that the audio might not be perfect. In fact, I think the audio just popped here. I'm using the built-in microphone right now on the handy recorder H4n, but I used these sweet Audio-Technica lav mics that I bought, and it's my first time using the mobile setup, and because I brought the wrong headphone splitter, and because it was the first time using this setup, there were 1,001 things that I was just a little unsure of, even though I was monitoring the audio for most of the interview. So what you'll hear are no less than a handful, maybe 12 apologies for the audio quality. You're going to hear me take off my tie. You'll probably hear the pit in my stomach churning away throughout the entire thing. Daniel is an amazing guy, super smart, has brilliant things to say, and I am pretty much useless throughout the entire podcast. More so than I usually am in an interview scenario, because again, the entire time all I could do was... at one point, I was composing the email in my head of what I would say to Dan when the MP3 came out poor. He was in the middle of telling me fascinating, interesting stories, and all I could think about was, I think I'm going to start it off with, like, maybe the subject should be like, well, comma, that happens, ... And then the body of the email will say, hey, I know I said that the audio wasn't quite perfect, or I was worried that it wasn't, and so we had to shove it. So, if you want crippling anxiety for the next hour and change, go ahead and put yourself in my shoes, and anytime you're hearing audio from this podcast, worry that it's going to be useless and end up in the recycle bin, and know that that was a exercise in futility. I hope you guys enjoy this interview half as much as I did, and there we go. There's an unnecessarily long trance or dubstep song that gets played, and then Brian messes up my name,
right?
And then I say welcome to the show and blah blah blah. And I think for this one we'll just let it go, and then at some point...
Okay, my phone is right over there. It might ring.
Do you want to grab it?
Yeah, I probably ought to grab it real quick.
All right, careful.
Well, I've got the...
I'm going to paint a picture for those who are listening to you, D-Mike, and run across your gorgeous Portland living room, penthouse living, phenomenal space.
there's a cat with an evil glare, a gorgeous cat, but just sizing me up as it lays across what might be an architectural magazine.
That is actually that is a book of, a heavily marked and highlighted book of, there's an encyclopedia of robots that my daughter has been perusing. She's 3.
And I'm assuming she didn't pick that out. I'm assuming that is something
She did
you
drag
handed
that
to her.
off
Oh, really?
a shelf, yeah. And that is Buckminster, the cat. He's
Oh my God, he's amazing.
he's over there absorbing robot knowledge through
he's,
osmosis.
he's absorbing vitamin D from the sun and robot knowledge. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you for having me here, sir.
Yeah, thanks
This
for coming.
single, I don't know about this. We're supposed to be talking about futurology and robots and technology, and we're surrounded by wires, and I can only hear myself through one ear. I'm very disappointed by this podcast setup.
We're
I'm
in
sorry.
the future.
This is the future. So how can we be in the future when you text me and say, here's my place, if you have trouble getting it, use the door thingy.
What is this supposed to be called? I mean, the door thingy, it's got numbers in it. You push you paw at the buttons.
It's the buzzer box of some
Yeah.
sort, but it made me laugh that you are a roboticist, you're a software engineer, correct? Did you get a bachelor's in computer science or something of that nature?
Yeah, I did. Although I am not the best programmer.
No.
I try to keep the rust from
I'm gonna try
accumulating.
this. I'm gonna try this. Is that
Yeah.
that acceptable?
Sure.
This is driving me nuts here, and I'm gonna try to get our volume up in the headphones.
Cool.
Is that?
There we go. Don't touch it.
It's just gonna drive me nuts the entire time.
It's
if
just,
I can't
there's
hear it.
this thing laying on the ground in like a pile of tentacles, like something from the Matrix. It's got appendages sticking off the top. I think those must be microphones that are not on right now.
Yeah, those are.
Yeah, that is a frightening piece of
It looks
future.
like something from the Matrix exploded. It's just spaghetti and wires everywhere. All right, so back to you. Computer science degree.
Yeah.
Roboticist. What else is hiding around in there that Wikipedia didn't tell me? What did you get?
Oh, Wikipedia, they did the exhaustive research on me. No, I did a computer science degree, and while I was doing it, I found out about artificial intelligence, that it was a real thing that you could study. And I thought, programming a computer and telling it exactly what to do is for chumps. Because what you can really do is just teach the computer to solve the problem on its own.
Right.
You walk away, you're drinking coffee, you're having fun, it's figuring out the problem.
Right.
You know.
People are so worried about robots taking over their jobs, and you want that to happen.
Hey.
You're like, no, I want the robot to do all the work for me.
Yeah, you just come back in, you wang the side of the computer with a stick, and you say, hurry up with that thesis. Yeah.
Do it now. So you discovered AI, and you decided that you wanted to write AI, or that you wanted to be beholden to AI, or what?
Well, so I thought of my life as kind of, at the time, I was pretty into role-playing games, and like I was looking at this list of things I could study in graduate school because it was very clear I didn't want to go into the real world because forget about that.
That's scary. There's monsters out there. There's slimes that want to eat you, and there's mortgages and work.
I
Yes.
thought that there might be work involved. I was looking out the street, and I thought there could be work involved if I go out there. I better stay in here in the air conditioning of this basement laboratory. So.
And
anyway,
this is where? Which school?
This is in
it?
Tulsa.
Tulsa. Okay.
And I'm going there.
People are going to hear
weeks.
a tie coming off. This is going to get sexy very fast. Well, I didn't know Portland was this beautiful.
Well, you're kind of dressed up for Portland.
I'm very dressed
You do
up
have a little bit of a beard going, which is going to, people are going to give you some credit for that.
Oh, I can use the bike lane here, and I can down a triple IPA at Blitz, and nobody bats an eyelash now that I got this 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
So you're in a basement in Tulsa, and
Oh.
you say, "Screw the real world."
Yeah. And I'm going back there to do the commencement speech in 2 weeks, and I haven't written it yet. I gotta do something.
Well, can't you have a computer write it for you? Can't you give it a few of your tweets and let it generate a speech for you?
You could, actually. There's a really funny thing called, I imagine it's okay to ramble here, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So there's this really cool thing called a hidden Markov model, where you basically just take, you count the number of transitions between words by looking at a whole bunch of like telephone transcripts, right? So morning comes after good, right? A lot. And so if you add up all the transitions, all the words that come after good night, good morning, good gracious.
Good day, good breakfast.
Yeah. And then you create a probability of going from one word to the next word. You can step through sentences like that, and they sound completely reasonable.
Is that how Google knows that when I type, like BE
Yeah.
into a search box, it can suggest Benihana
That
or
is-
bestiality? Like it knows my probability that I'm searching for one of those two things?
Yeah, that's absolutely exactly how they do that.
I know those
my
get
guess.
those are incredibly.
I guess it's all top secret.
But those I guess algorithms have become incredibly prevalent. Like predictive. It used to be just predictive text, the single word that you're typing.
Yeah.
But what you're alluding to is whole phrases, whole sentences, whole books. Why not?
So it's a model of how the language works, and it's generative, so you can run through it and create sentences. And they're so funny because they make sense to part of your brain, because it's like, I can't make it up now, but then you go through it and it's of course gibberish. But so anyway, I studied AI. I figured out that for graduate school I could study this thing called robotics, and I was looking at like my character sheet of my life, right? It's like, well, I'm really good with a mace. I
got a 12 intelligence here. I've got 2 dexterity, a shit ton of charisma.
I should have put a lot more into my intelligence, I think, at the end of the day. Am I cutting off or anything? Feels like
I might be.
Okay.
I might be overmodulating. I'm that guy. I'm that.
Oh yeah, overmodulating.
For those, and again, you asked if it was okay to ramble. Clearly it is, and clearly I'm going to digress 1,000 times because this is my first mobile setup. This is my first usage of it.
You come into my living room and you overmodulate on my couch.
This is bad. I'm sorry. I clipped all over his living room. I clipped everywhere. It was terrible.
Oh my God, the cat was disgusting.
I know. The cat left. The cat absorbed all its robot knowledge and moved on.
That's enough.
So thank you again for letting me explode here and for beta testing this setup. I'm so glad. It was so happenstance that you happened to be here and I happened to find out that you're here.
Yeah, so what's the story on that again?
Having chat with the girlfriend's mom about books that I'm reading, and I don't read books often. I'm not smart. I don't have the patience or the time or the attention span for it. And Brian Redban suggested Robo-Apocalypse. He's like, dude, you're going to love this book.
Oh, there's no apoc. It's just Robo-Apocalypse.
Robo-Apocalypse?
Yeah.
Have I been typing that in wrong the entire time?
Yeah, it's okay.
That's terrible.
That's close enough.
That's terrible for me. Well,
it's hard as hell to pronounce.
I told someone it was Robocalypse for a while, which is something completely different, I believe.
In Germany, it's called Robocalypse. And the funny story, the P-O, apparently means ass. So if they had left it as Robo-Apocalypse, it would be like Robot Ass Apocalypse.
Which is the weird porn spin-off that someone's going to make of this movie after Spielberg's done with it, right?
I'm elbows deep in it right now. I'm just freestyling and going through it, following my,
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it might be.
Son of a bitch. Maybe I need to wire this through the shirt. Okay, prepare internet. You're about to go under my cashmere. Here we go.
Boy.
Was that good for you? Internet? The cat's back in the room. The cat wanted part of this show.
He's like,
all right,
this is worth checking out.
I swear this is going to get posted, and I'm going to try to doctor everything that I can in GarageBand.
Okay.
I'm really going to go, I don't know, this isn't going to work. This is never going to work, is it?
What?
Is this going to be good enough audio quality for people, you think?
Yeah.
Are they going to want this?
I think we're figuring it out.
Can AI go through and reconfigure this conversation and clean up the fidelity and
modulate it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
I think so.
that'll? I think this is going to be a spin-off podcast. This will be the first. I'm going to do a whole new one, and it's just going to be me fussing with audio gear with a different guest
like 2 hours.
for 2 hours each time. And
That's gonna be nice. You can make a music album to go with it where someone's just tuning. Like, oh, hold on, let me tune this. It's not quite right. 1 second. Just a second, guys.
Yeah, that's I hate bands. I can't stand the like in between each song. You can always tell the amateur band when they're like, all right, song's finished, and hold on, we're all going to tune for 15 minutes and get ready and drop D and bring it back up to C.
Just get that anticipation burning, for everybody.
Yeah, that doesn't work for me.
I think I'm going to go smoke in the parking lot tomorrow.
So you were hiding from work. You saw that work might be out there. Got into AI. How does this somehow transform itself into you getting into creative writing? I mean, was that always a passion of yours? Was that something you always did?
I wrote a lot of science fiction in high school, but that wasn't really breaking out for me. It wasn't. Not so
You
much.
weren't burning up live journals and Friendster accounts with your...
You know, it was like 95. I wasn't
So
burning
more
up.
Angel Fire or more GeoCities, or no? Was this not even online?
Oh, I was just playing Trade Wars on BBSs and stuff like that.
Now you're speaking my language.
Land of Devastation. That was my
Legend of the Red Dragon as well.
a little bit, but I
Okay.
never got super into that one because there were too many players. I preferred the ones where it was BBSs where you call one at a time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you really wanted to mess up the other guy, you'd call in and play from 11 to midnight, and then from midnight 01 to like 1:01 a.m.
Get your 2 turns in the row.
Two
and
in a
slam-
row,
yeah.
baby. You're hunting them down because these games are great because it's one at a time. And when you're not playing, the other guy can scour the wastelands. This is Land of Devastation to just mess you up. So half of the game is building a gigantic fortress, or just dropping everything and wandering naked into the wasteland and just trying to hide in a needle in a haystack. So much fun.
Yeah, for those that are hearing this, like bulletin board systems were like one at a time mini internets that
Yes.
for most of them weren't even connected to each other. It was one board and it lived on its own.
Well,
and
the
then-
great thing, it was like your own internet. You'd buy a modem, you'd download some software, and then you would host your own internet, and then people would call you your phone line, and you'd be like, Mom, don't pick up, it's my BBS.
Someone's
you know?
transferring Doom shareware. Don't interrupt that. I need that. You're going to ruin my ratio.
Dude, that's so true.
You'd have time limits. It made everything so precious because you'd log on and it'd be like, oh, I've got 15 minutes and I've got to improve my ratio, so I'm going to upload this fake Britney Spears porn Photoshop or whatever the file was, or what. Upload my Wolfenstein latest shareware patch, and then try to play some Legend of the Red Dragon or Usurper or Global Realms or something.
If you were a real badass, or if it was a real badass site, there'd be like 8 to 16 separate phone lines coming on at the same time.
Welcome to the Citadel, 4-node, 28.8. What? He's got
All the ASCII
28.8?
art?
Yes.
Man.
Animated ASCII.
Speaking,
and
I have a
graphics.
buddy actually downstairs, Bryn Forbes. He has this gallery where he has taken Lego men, like thousands and thousands of Lego men, and put them on this giant grid so that when you get far away from it, it forms
actually
an image.
forms an image?
Yeah. So,
No.
and you get close and you see all the Lego men. And what cracks me up is he bought garbage bags full of Lego men. And these are Lego men I never knew. They're like the whole NBA in Lego men.
They have them in Lego form?
He's got all these basketball players. I mean, they all look the same. I can't tell, really,
Wait, was
there's
that,
numbers.
was that Lego racism or was that general racism about basketball players? I want to be clear.
Yeah, right. So whenever
Are you prejudiced against yellow plastic, or are you prejudiced
Hey,
against
all those yellow plastic
those
Legos.
pigs look the same to me.
They all have the same smile, the same. Yeah.
So I love that you were into, so from an early age then, a fascination with what, computers and technology?
Oh yeah. And just reading all the magazine of fantasy and science fiction and all this stuff, all those analog, like all the pulp sci-fi mags, and you'd read them, and then I just kind of regurgitated a lot. I wrote a lot of stories, didn't go anywhere. But in grad school, you get prepared to be a writer. It's amazing because after a couple years, you finish your master's requirements and you are doing research, or you're supposed to be doing research. There's really no one there to make you do anything. So everybody that's there, that's successful, figures out some self-motivating, drive. And usually it's guilt. Like, grad students are like the guiltiest people around, Sometimes they're really competitive, you just want to, it's like studying behind your friend's back. It's like, oh, hey, it was great studying with you. And they go home and they're like, study.
Right, yeah, I'll show him.
And that happens too. That's part of it. For me, it was kind of like guilt, I guess, is pretty much how I got motivated. A little bit of competition.
What were you feeling guilty of? Like,
You develop this thing because you have other people that are working. You have people that are waiting on you to deliver whatever it is you're supposed to deliver. And then if you have students, then they're counting on you. And your advisor, of course, is like, mine was a guy. He's a paternal thing. It's like, my advisor is kind of like this father-son relationship. Did I do good, Dad?
Right.
He's like, well, no, the math is all off, you little idiot. Go back to the drawing board.
I should have studied behind your back more. I'm sorry.
But what you end up doing is waking up every day and working your ass off with no one to tell you to do it.
Right.
And if you skip a day, or if you play video games all day, which happens sometimes for months, then you feel bad about it and you get motivated to go back and do it again. And so you get out of school, and that's what writing is. It's nobody makes you do it. There's no boss. There's nothing. It's a tough it's a tough thing. I do want to just play video games all day.
Sure.
I never finished Skyrim, okay? Like, I don't know what happens.
You abandoned your character at what level? What level did you let him go?
Oh, you know, what I did was I'm a completionist. In a game like Skyrim, I'll never finish. I have to figure,
People
I
are
start
still
with the
not
minutia.
finishing that game now.
I do the minutia first, and then my idea is I'll save the main storyline for like, dessert or something, and then it just never happens.
I'll get the laundry chore list of side quests of fetching cheese wheels or killing dragons or drowning a child or whatever the side quest
Whatever they
is.
ask you to
And
do.
I have to fetch 15 daggers from the Cave of Sorrow. Sure, okay, I'm on board. Clear out the list and realize I haven't even touched the main quest, and then I'm already defeated.
Yeah.
I just haven't done it. I feel like I have to do it.
Oh, well, I got to the point where I could craft, whatever the armor was that just makes you basically untouchable. And then you're like, yeah, forget it. It's too easy.
You beat the game without beating the game.
Yeah,
and
beat
Bioshock,
myself.
found myself spending hours going through every trash bin and searching under every rafter or behind every cardboard box to see if there might be an apple that I missed or a spare coin. There's nothing worse than being a completionist in modern video games.
It's
They give you
terrible.
way too much.
They don't take it easy on you. I like how Dead Space did it a little, because you end up exploring that environment, not because like you want to find anything, because there's nothing really to find. There's not even like cog things to find like you can find in Gears of War. But you're always out of ammunition.
Right, that's how they do it. Like, you have to look if you want to be able to shoot something.
Better go check the fucking trash cans again to see if there's
Yeah, Dead Space turns us into space hobos. We're just futuristic hobos rummaging around for bullets.
Shuffling through a derelict spacecraft, like one arm just down in that thing, circling around. Shuffle. Where's the? Oh, great! It's just more styrofoam containers.
What was your thesis on? I saw it had a very long title that confused me, like the third word in, but it had something about like greener living or smarter living through biosensors or switches, or did Wikipedia lead me astray?
No, it's called Assistive Intelligent Environments for Automatic Health Monitoring.
Okay, now you're just making shit up.
AKA spying on the elderly for their own good is what that was really all about.
And what that was about, optimizing home automation to save energy, or is it?
Dude, actually, there's kind of a crazy story on this. Like, so I, as a kid, had this one book that I loved. It was called Sea of Glass, and it's written by Barry Longyear. He wrote Enemy Mine, which was turned into a movie that I love. Lou Gossett and Dennis Quaid. So I read this book again and again and again, every year, multiple times a year, all throughout from like age 9. And it's a rough book. It's like really intensely violent, just over the top. I should never have been allowed to read it.
Yeah, I love that.
No, just sick, messed up stuff. But it all serves a point. And it's my favorite book of all time, actually. So I read this book all these times, and then I got to graduate school, and I had to pick a research area, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna monitor people's activities in their homes over time, so I can detect functional decline as people get older, right? You get older, you're not as able to do stuff. Sure. Like one day, you're cooking slower and slower and slower until you just sort of quit cooking, or you quit cleaning or bathing yourself. And like, as you do that, a lot of times people, they just can't do one thing and they get thrown into a nursing home, and it's total bullshit, because what really needs to happen is you need someone to come over and cook for you. You know, and you're fine. You can live it at home, and you're safe, and you're much happier.
Right.
And so the idea is to have some way to monitor that. The problem is that nobody wants cameras, right? So your hands are tied behind your back, because that's the easiest way to do that. Or you instrument the person, right? You make them wear like a special bracelet, like with
some sort of
accelerometers.
biofeedback device and something that says, I'm in this room, I'm performing this activity for this amount of time.
We did that at Intel Research. They had this big ass bracelet that I'm like, you know, it's great. It's great research. It's really thoughtful, but nobody's gonna fucking wear the bracelet.
Right.
Like, nobody's gonna let you put a camera in the in the bathroom or whatever.
How do you explain what's going on with? And I don't want to tangent from this, but like with Nike Fuel Bands and Google Glass. Don't you think we're heading?
Yeah.
In that
So this is what doing ethnographic studies of these people. We found that it's all about perceived benefit. So not the actual benefit either, because if they don't really understand, because this is part of the problem with like that population, is that they don't really care. They're like, get out of my house, dude.
Right, yeah.
But their kids care, and like their family members who may not be there with them, who may be, living across the country, they care. So, but that's different. They're not the ones who have to allow the technology into. So it's a really sort of complicated thing.
Sure.
In my case, I ended up having to roll it back until I only used sensors that were available in public restrooms. Like, if you think about the public restroom, sensors everywhere in here, right?
Yeah.
You wave your hands in front of the thing.
Paper towel comes out, water out of the faucet, automatic soap dispenser.
The automatic flushing.
Yeah, one for the flusher. There's another one which has a little trap door in the glory hole. It'll slide up if you knock just right.
You get
in the back of the video arcade. Yeah, and then the knock knock, boom, door slides open.
Yeah,
you got yourself dinner and a show.
You can get those for the house too. You know, I've got one back there.
Damn it! You have everything here.
I know, this place is really
This is incredible.
That's really gross and weird. So for the record,
but a true admission.
Yeah.
So I get, and that level of sensor seems less obtrusive because there's not a camcorder capturing high def imagery of my genitals. It just knows that my genitals are no longer in the proximity of the urinal, so it's okay to flush, right?
Yeah.
Is that why that's the acceptable level?
Because it's binary. It's 1 or 0, and it's anonymous. There's no ID associated with it. So anyway, so that's what I ended up doing. And to tie that back to the earlier story, my mom's a case manager. So she's a nurse that goes out and visits people in rural Oklahoma where I grew up. And so I always thought, you know, my research is kind of dovetailing with what my mom always did growing up. Like, I'm really used to that. I'm used to the idea of a nurse that goes out to check on people and then to figure out if they need, you know, someone to clean their house.
Sure. But
then,
she's probably relying on their data that they're collecting themselves, right? And they're spacing out on, and they lie about everything else because they don't want to admit, like, well, I didn't cook dinner yesterday because I was too tired.
Or they'll lie the other way around in order to get, like, one of those awesome government, like, wheelchair things, like, oh, the scooter, everybody's got one. I can't walk. You know?
Right. Get me a Segway. What do I need to say to get a Segway up in here?
What do I got to do to get a damn rascal up in here?
Give me a rascal with some nos.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, it's a real detective game for her, but with sensors, it's a lot harder to game the system, and you get a much more accurate viewpoint. Sometimes people just don't know.
Sure.
They think that they can't walk, and really they could if they tried. But what I ultimately realized, though, was I have solving something that I defined as the STAR problem. It's always great to have acronyms, right? Mm-hmm. Simultaneous tracking and activity recognition. I want to know where you are and what you're doing, right?
Sure.
And so I realized, so the next step to that is you track exactly where they're at. You build a model of what people do, right? Just like there's a model for what word comes after good, you know, and the probability of transitioning. You can use the same model to look at, like, how people move through their house or move through their activities that they do every day.
Right.
It turns out,
Did you shit shower? Well, now you're going to shave.
Do you
There's
shower
a
and
reason
shit?
That right.
Do you shit in the shower? Because that's an aberration.
I need a sensor for that immediately. I really want one of those to go off, just a siren.
I mean, and people are really predictable. Like, they do the same stuff in the same order every day.
Human beings, creatures of habit, they love their routines, and that's that.
And so it makes it an easier problem. But what I discovered, so the next step is if you have a desirable or undesirable activity, you start to look and see what happened, like, right before that to cause that activity or to cause someone not to do that activity. And then you can actually, and I never went this far, but if I had stayed in academia, my next step would have been, how do I intervene in the environment to create desired outcomes in terms of behavior?
Right.
So to have someone, you know, it could just be a voice that reminds you to wash your hands or something, or it could be a lot more subtle. So they discovered, for instance, that when designing nursing homes with Alzheimer's patients, that Alzheimer's patients have bad vision and they don't like to walk on dark surfaces because they can't gauge whether it's a pit or whether it's a step.
Sure.
And they're afraid they're going to get hurt. So like hallways that lead to exits, because Alzheimer's patients tend to wander around and they escape.
They will escape, yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
That's not good. So they'll paint those hallways dark. And then they notice this drop off in the and so that's the kind of
phenomenal.
You can in an automated way discover behavior cues like that. And so what you end up with is this scenario where you're using a computer to figure out what people are doing and then why, and then you're modifying the environment in order to get what you want.
Channel them to the desired output. Now,
and the goal is to maximize happiness, obviously.
That might be your goal and someone's goal. And I immediately think of the bald man who's petting a hairless cat as lightning is crashing behind his rain-soaked windows in his ivory tower. And he says, how do we trap them in the casino longer? Or how do we
Are
get
you
them
kidding?
to spend more
Yeah,
on this?
no.
I mean, which is
I
clearly been
imagine
done.
a sweaty 25-year-old Zuckerberg, like with a maniacal glint in his eye, like,
Right.
oh, you sheeple are gonna pay.
Right, yeah, exactly. We're going to make you buy more golden coins to play your Farmville games even longer.
I'll have you and all your little friends. Yeah. So to tie it back, I realized, and seriously, I'm not kidding. This hit me one day whenever I was about 4 or 5 months out from defending my thesis and being done. And I've been in this world studying this stuff day and night. It's all statistics mostly, and then some hardware, you know. I realized that in Sea of Glass, there's a machine called Mac that tracks the activities and locations of everybody in the world and modifies everything in the world. It determines how city streets are laid out, like when the traffic lights blink, like where signs are at, everything. It controls everything to maximize happiness, or to actually minimize the probability of a war. And I was like, oh my God, I just spent like 5 years of my life making my favorite science fiction book come true, and I never even realized.
You didn't realize you were even doing that at the time.
I never realized.
Because Mac, or Max?
It was Mac, M-A-C.
Mac
yeah.
was doing it for you. Mac put you into the proper educational channels, gave you the nursing mother, did everything it could to maximize your outcome.
That's what that book is about. That book, Mac basically crafts the protagonist. You realize at the end, I hate to give this book away, it's one of my favorites.
No, I'm going to read it, so don't spoil it too much.
Yeah, I
now.
won't spoil it. But Mac is much more, and in fact, it's informed my writing now a lot, because Mac, in that book, Mac's not like sentient, right? It has a goal. Its goal is to prevent this war from happening, and so it does everything it can toward that goal. So it's not just sentient, like going, I'm going to destroy humankind or anything like that. But it's so crafty that you get to the end of the book and it suddenly hits you, oh my God, like this computer is so much more cunning than I ever thought it could be, and its game plan was so complex and like such a long-term.
We always
game
think
plan.
computers are playing checkers, man. They're just, here's the move, and that's
he's
it. But
like
they are
playing
playing
hollow
chess.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. 4D chess inside of a Rubik's cube,
What is it that they
balanced on a Jenga board.
What do they
Or
play in Star Trek? I can't believe I forgot.
Is it Star Trek? Is it Hollow Chess, or what do they
It's
play?
like
on?
the 3D chess. You can really play it. You can,
I'm okay with not knowing that.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
okay with
Fair
not
enough.
having that much Star Trek knowledge in my life, and not a Star Kid. The notion of the computer playing on that level, being that methodical, thinking that far ahead, I think that permeates every page that I read in Robopocalypse. I mean, that is, I'm sorry, the Robot Apocalypse book. The
Robopocalypse.
Yeah,
Robot ass apocalypse. Is
yeah,
what I prefer to call it.
as the Germans, the robot ass apocalypse.
Oh,
this
have
is
you
the one
read?
with the robots and the assholes. Yeah,
And the stereotypical German accent.
yeah.
Very
We are having
offensive.
sex with our Roombas.
I
Yes,
hate
we
that,
are.
Kevin and Daniel. Yeah,
At least we are not Lego pieces. He
Sorry,
loves
Germany.
us. But that permeates everything, and that's what I think one of the things that really grabbed me and drove me towards it. I remember I was going to say with every page turn, but who am I kidding? With every Kindle screen tap or swipe, I said, I love that you're reading about, like, the machines are going to attack us or interfere with our lives in ways that are not right in front of us. It's not just, even though this does exist in the book, it's not just, they have machine guns and they're going to turn on you. It's the way that they're going to use systems against us, the way they're going to try to put people in certain positions for a desired outcome. They're going
like
to...
whenever the guy says, they're on the army base and someone says, and it's like a couple of privates who don't know what the hell's going on and they're just shooting everybody and they're crazy, and somebody says, like, what are you doing? And they're like, we don't know. All of our bosses, got called to a special meeting right before this happened.
Yeah, no one's here right now, guys. They all got alerts.
What happened to them?
Is that me? Who is that? Is that me?
I'm trying to.
I know. I see you being very kind.
down
You're
a
pulling
little.
your shirt down. And I appreciate it.
I'm gonna lock it up
is it
down
better
here.
there?
I'm being too loud, I think.
Has it been better there the entire time, and I haven't even put it there?
That's what I already do.
This is, oh my God. That's what this is.
There we go.
No, it's killing me because I am thoroughly enjoying the conversation, but there is probably 10%, Jesus Christ. There's probably 10 10% of me that's in the background going, oh my God, this audio might be unusable. I don't know if this is, do I need to adjust this mic? Should I just hold it like this in front of my face? I mean, that sounds good. Holy shit, should it have been like that the whole time? This is what is 10%.
Well, maybe we should.
If you can see the video, we're holding microphones like dainty little teacups in front of our faces. I mean, I can see the audio meters. It all looks good.
We need those wands like 80s TV show hosts.
That's what I need to get us some Barker mics, some Bob Barker mics.
Yeah.
Something that if you're holding it, you have to remind the audience to spay their pets.
It's
Like
classy. It's like a magic wand.
Remember those days when the hosts would come out, they'd have their long silver microphones, their bad suits on, and they would like make out with the female contestants, and you could tell they reeked of whiskey.
They would relentlessly flirt with your wife.
Yeah, they would.
if you
Yeah,
dared to
exactly.
come
Right
on
in
the
front of,
show.
nice to meet you, and you're the husband of this fine little thing here. What's your name, Sally Mae? And he'd lean in and lick her cheek.
Yeah.
This is so I'm going to apologize again to you and to the audience.
Yeah.
This is it's a mobile setup. I've just never used it before, which
No worries.
This is terrible. So on the automation front, what did you discover through that? I mean, obviously you discovered that people are highly repeatable with their patterns. Did you get to the point where you were able to alter behavior, or did you just come up with theories on how?
No,
you
my
could do it,
research
or-
was just about figuring out where people are at and what they're up to.
Okay.
So, yeah, without having to put any sensors on the person.
Sure.
So that, of course, would make it a lot easier. And
so-
people do that now.
Well, and now, yeah.
You know, why do they do? It's all about the benefit, I guess. But like, people are relentlessly adding sensors to their own bodies. We're wearing. Obviously, we carry smartphones around that have like that have cameras and microphones and accelerometers and GPS chips and like magnetometers. They have. I mean, that's everything that you need in order to.
Yeah, I think
track
we need an
somebody.
altimeter, maybe some sort of temperature gauge.
Yeah, no, we're adding
like,
that.
Yeah,
all the bio stuff,
Yeah.
right? Why do we want to track every detail of our lives? I don't know.
Do you want to? I mean, therein lies. I mean, for a guy who writes so much fiction about these computers that someday are going to be used for nefarious purposes or somehow crush us and kill us and maim and destroy us, you have an iPhone.
Well,
I mean, obviously you live in the real world, but do you have overarching concerns about the future?
I have this feeling that everybody, depending on how old you are, you really have a different probability of embracing new technology, right? The older you get, the less likely you are to really be into whatever the new thing is. And I try in myself to watch out for that crotchetiness so that I can try to defeat it or whatever, but I don't think it's possible.
No.
I think that your knee jerk is like, fuck that new technology, that's stupid.
Right. Well, that's what I said about Twitter and Vine and everything else that I've said that I now have an account on and I love to follow friends on. Screw that thing.
Yeah, but so
To me, I asked you a question. I'm no, let me tell you
for it.
something else. But the recent stock market crash only a few days ago.
The Twitter thing.
To know that, for those who don't know, like the market tanked, and it was anywhere from 15 minutes to like an hour-long episode, depending upon how you look at the blip. But they have algorithms now that read the news, and the Associated
Look for
Press's
keywords and
Twitter
stuff.
account was hacked, and someone tweeted that there was explosions at the White House and Obama was injured. And a piece of software saw those words and said, oh, this is bad news, sell everything. And what was it, billions, if not trillions of dollars?
It was enough to make the entire market spike down.
Yeah, just immediately, all of a sudden, bloop, completely down, and then other computer pieces of software found out, oh, no, that's okay, it's fine, and bought everything all back. But that doesn't...
Well, so what worries me is, if you hacked that, if you're the person who got in there and you're like, oh shit, I've got access to the AP whatever, do you buy a bunch of stock and short it and then do that? And even on a wider level, if you're gonna commit a terrorist act, do you do that? I mean, you can affect, because the information spreads so fast now.
Sure.
And people
even the
make
misinformation spreads so fast, which is just as important to
you
point
could
out.
have, if you really did something bad to the White House, it would have the same effect.
Sure.
So, I don't know. That's just frightening, right? Because of the way the information propagates, now you can do stuff like that. Where I don't know that you could really expect to be able to get away with that before. Maybe.
I don't know how you would have done that. I mean, unless you were a trillionaire or a bank, I don't know how you could manipulate the market with a tweet.
Yeah,
and now it's
one
been
tweet.
now it's been clear that you can do that, and it's funny. People were like, some terrorist group or organization took credit for hacking the Twitter account, and I'm like, okay, congratulations, you
How much did
fished
you
somebody's
make?
password, but it's like. Now that thought is in people's head of, well, how can I manipulate entire markets and profit off this and fund my wars or fund my agendas or whatever else?
Well, people do that already. I mean, it's fraud, but they send mass emails to lots of people with like information, and then they get like they get a small outcome, but it's enough to eke out some money.
50 Cent tweets, you guys should buy stock in this gun company. I hear it's going to blow up, and he manipulates the market with Twitter
happen?
now. That happened, yeah.
Oh,
and he had to basically send out tweets later saying, by the way, I'm not an investment guy. This is just my opinion, and all this other stuff. Still made money off of it. I don't think there were any insider trading things slammed against him.
God,
But
is that like the next celebrity like book deal thing? Like, if you're a big celebrity, then you get to automatically do all the ancillary stuff that makes you money. Like, is manipulating the stock market like next?
yeah, you get I just had my third pump and dump. Wow, man, you must be really, that movie's catching on. Your star meter's rising.
Your porn tape really paid off.
But exactly.
Yeah.
So bring me back to when you did all this. You spent years of your life doing all this research. You do the thesis. When do you decide? Oh, I'm going to pivot now and get into this book writing world?
It's just got sort of. It was just like I fell into it basically. I wrote. I had this idea for a book called How to Survive a Robot Uprising because it's nonfiction. I was surrounded by roboticists, and I thought I can just, go and ask them exactly what they would really do, which I did. And then that was a book that I was able to sell the book because I was kind of like in the perfect situation as a grad student, and it had a funny title, and it was like, it was just a little book, but I got like this taste of being able to write a book, and it was fun. I really enjoyed it. And then Paramount optioned the rights to the book, and ultimately a movie was never made.
Well, did you see? Was it Tom Lennon and Ben Garant,
Tom
who
and Ben,
are amazing?
The script they wrote for Robot Uprising was
it good?
so hilarious.
Really?
Oh my God! I mean, like. I can't talk about it, but Paramount owns it, and they gave me back the rights. I mean, I have the rights to Robot Uprising, which is funny because I was developing it with Steve Pink for a long time, who is just phenomenally awesome. Like he's a guy who came up with the Cusacks, and he directed High Fidelity and like Grosse Point Blank, like one of my favorite movies, and then Hot Tub Time Machine, of course. And so he's hilarious. And like anyway, Mike Myers was attached to the original one. And then he did Love Guru, and then they were like, we're gonna like slow down, and that was tanked, and they kind of let it go, and I don't know, whatever. That's Hollywood.
Is there any chance of getting that Tom Lennon Ben Garant vision of it produced, or
You'd have to just buy it from Paramount, which would be those guys aren't kidding. They wrote a screenplay. They're really great guys, by the way. They're like super nice. I went down to LA and just sort of I had a friend who was interviews comedians, right? And so they were shooting Reno 911 Miami or whatever, and I just kind of walk on to set where they're directing and starring, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm Daniel. I wrote that book that you wrote. And they're like, what's up? Hey, let's hang out.
Awesome.
Like, and I had no idea how they were going to react. I thought it was going to be more like,
get off my set. What are you doing here? Go back to your internet cave.
like, hey, here's a promotional cap. Have a great day. GTFO.
Did you get a bottle of water? Awesome. They'll validate you at the counter.
Real.
They wrote a book like how to make a
$1 billion
writing movies.
Yeah. And
a very funny book too.
You know what is actually? So I've been writing screenplays recently. I just wrote a remake of Cherry 2000 for MGM, which was really fun. The number one thing that Tom and Ben talk about in that book, which that book, by the way, is straight up. Everything in there. It's not about making indie movies, or it's about selling your soul and making real money selling, and selling scripts. And that means, Hollywood expects a certain type of thing, and that's what they buy.
Right.
And Tom and Ben are really good at
And
providing
they even
that.
tell you, like, by the way, on page 10, this needs to happen. Like, literally, with every movie, and they go through all these scripts, like, on page 10 or page 12, if you're really good,
they say
these things
stuff-
need to happen.
They say stuff that should be self-evident, but you don't really want to believe it. Like, they'll say, like, hey, guess what? Like, your hero has to be a badass, and he has to be really good looking, and he has to be all these things because there's some egotistical actor who wants to play that guy.
Right.
And if he does have like a foible, if he does have some kind of, it can't be that bad.
Right. It's got to be
has actually
quirky
be
or
good.
adorable or work in his favor down the road.
Yeah, exactly. And you realize, oh, right. Like, because I actually, in a meeting with a studio head, said, well, this hero is more of a quirky guy. Like, he's not a square jaw. And the guy, like, slammed his fist on the table and is like, no. He's a square jaw, kid. Like, you're not writing a script where
He's
it's not a
got
square
perfect
jaw.
teeth, impeccable hair, chiseled abs.
If you don't
he's
think
not a
that's-
leper. Write that out of it.
If that's not who you're imagining, then you need to go back to the drawing board. But the number one thing that they teach, or that they write about in that book, which is so true, is humility. And it's so, as a screenwriter, you are at the bottom of everything because, and if you ever go see a movie being shot, you realize it. It hits you suddenly. There's like 200 people here. They're not just like milling around doing jack shit. They're trained experts who have devoted their lives to. Sometimes they're just putting tape on the ground, but the guy who's
But the
pulling
tape has a
focus-
purpose and needs to be there for a reason.
and if he screws up, someone's going to yell at him and fire him probably.
Right.
So, you realize, holy shit, look at all these people that are in between the script and the final movie, and you realize, okay, maybe there is something to this. But if you come at it from being a novelist, where you have absolute utter control, it's not that you're cocky, but you don't have a lot of humility though, because you're used to being God.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, what experience do you have with it when you're off on your own writing whatever it is you want to write in the way you want to write it, and then someone slams their fist on the table and says, no, your protagonist is Ben Stiller, okay.
My favorite note that I ever got was, it's fucking weird. Take it out. I was like, you can't argue with that. Like,
What was that? Do you remember what that was in reference to?
yeah, it was some cherry 2000 stuff.
okay.
But it was just,
It's
like,
fucking weird.
That's
Take
fucking
it out.
weird. Get rid of it. I was like, okay.
if you say so, boss.
I was sort of proud of that, but okay. I'll use it some other time as something else. But humility, like that's number one. You suck it up and you go, yes, all right, I'll write that again. Let me get back to it. And it's
At
hard.
some point, don't you think that applies to pretty much every profession or every facet of it everywhere? Like in some way, like even, maybe you don't have to, exhibit humility to be the director, but you're probably going to be more liked if you do, and probably going to be more agreeable,
It depends, I think, a lot on how much you interact with people.
Right.
Novelists, not interacting with human beings very much.
That is true.
Yeah, I did something really dumb the other day. I work in the same coffee shop every day, and I have this joke in my head. I might have picked it up somewhere, but I think I made it up. But I don't want to claim that I did.
That's all
In case
right.
It's one of those. But I consider all these people that I see every day who are also working in the coffee shop to be my faux workers. See, it's a little play on words.
I like that.
It's real clever.
I think Carlos Mencia stole that originally, but you can steal it now.
Yeah,
That's
is
fine.
that one of those, you're a white collar if you go to work and you got a bunch of faux workers?
Yeah, you got a bunch of faux workers serving lattes.
Yeah, drinking lattes. So I made the mistake of like trying to share this hilarious joke with one of my faux workers. No, they just looked at me like, why are you talking to me? Like, what the fuck is happening?
Am I really your
Shut
sounding board right now?
up,
Like, let me.
weirdo. Like, and I'm like, oh, right. I can't talk to these people. Like, it feels like they're my coworkers. I see them every day.
Right.
We sit in the same spots. We have the same, but no, like small talk a little. But if you see them out, like if you're, because we all live in the neighborhood, I'll see them at the park. I'll see them. I'll walk past, and I always do a nod, make eye contact. I have never been reciprocated once. It's just, people just, so it's a lonely
There's
sort
a
of
disconnect
gig.
there.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Portland influences like your writing and the style at all? Like, does the city permeate that?
How could it not really? I feel like one of the great things about Portland is I'm kind of left to my own devices a little bit out here. Like I don't have, I have these breathless conversations with my manager. he's in LA. He knows like what's popping and what's hitting, kid, and you know like
Bieber's trending. Put him in there. Get him in the picture.
Get Beeb in there. Get him out of the batter's circle. Like yeah, and you know, and he has these conversations, and he'll guide me on a high level. He'll be like, hey, robot rape is out. Like robot love is in.
Robot gang rape. That's what's going to be hot. 2013. Add a couple more robots. Copy paste.
Another one. Yeah. So you know, there really is something in the water in LA. I mean, people know they go to meetings and they hear the same ideas again and again, and you kill projects. You know, like when Robopocalypse was announced, when Spielberg says, "I'm doing a giant robot movie,"
nobody touches it.
It nukes the whole. And yeah, like I'm the first person who came up with a robot uprising idea. Well, I'm the only one with a degree in robotics that I know of. There's probably more. But, you know, I mean, that kind of suddenly changes the landscape of stories like that. And if you're working on I mean, I've had it go the other way, too, where I'm working on a story and then something hits and everyone just says, you kind of want to probably let that go.
Yeah, it reminds me of that thing that I saw on Deadline. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's
right.
not going to happen.
The thing from the guy with the... Yeah. And
do you like that Fortress of Solitude approach, like as the novelist? Like, do you appreciate being able? Because you said, you know, like hell yeah, I want to play video games. Of course, I just want. Like, what's your day to day, and how do you keep yourself motivated? Is it just like putting the rent due notice on the screen next to you?
Well, that is
like,
one great thing.
Because that probably helps, right?
Well, writing, you know, you get paid when you get done.
Right.
And that's, you know, like, I want to get paid, right? Like, getting paid is an important part of that whole procedure. So, like, you know, part of it is me motivated by just hitting my deadline and getting the money. Like, another thing that I've been doing lately is co-editing these anthologies. So, like, you know, when Robopocalypse came out and Amped, they're techno thrillers, right? They're marketed to everybody. It's like they compare it to Michael Crichton because I think he's basically the only person who wrote science fiction that just appealed obviously to everybody and didn't go into the science fiction ghetto.
Yeah, you don't have to know what a 20-sided die is to appreciate any of those tales.
And none of his books are like, you know, fat paperbacks with like skyscraper-sized spaceships on the front, which I love those paperbacks, but they don't sell to everybody usually. They sell to people who like science fiction, which is a shame. Because if you look at movies, like the top grossing movies are all sci-fi.
Right.
And then you go into books and it's like, oh, don't call it science fiction. I mean, can you imagine that people would like put down 50 Shades of Grey long enough to like read science fiction? God.
Right,
man,
heaven forbid, yeah.
Goodness.
What do you have to call it? Like science thriller?
Techno-thriller.
Techno-thriller.
Yeah, techno-thriller.
Wow.
And so, but what I realized is it came out, as a kid, I always dreamt, I'm gonna publish a magazine of science fiction and fantasy. I'm gonna be friends with like, you know, these big names. Like I would love to not be friends, but like colleagues. You know, like I write science fiction, you write science fiction. Maybe I just like high five, you know, Greg Bear at some point, which I did. But
oh well, then bucket list complete.
Yeah, right.
Give him a nod on the street, he'll nod back.
I gave George Martin a half hug at Comic-Con. You know, he had a line of beautiful Japanese girls that were all friends, and they were all in a line, and then I got at the end of the line. It was like he's like taking pictures with like these beautiful girls, and then I pop out. I'm the last guy, and he kind of looks at me and turns his head sideways, and I was like, all right, come on.
I'll give you the half arm there.
Yeah, I just wanted to just run my hands under those suspenders, you know.
Let me just get a feeling. Just give me 15 seconds.
This is my bucket list.
I'm gonna get brisky and rub my nose in between your nipples. Let me just do it.
But so I've been co-editing these anthologies where now we're soliciting stories from these awesome people, these awesome science fiction writers, and not only am I getting to like read the stories and I get to actually edit them, you know, which is amazing. And in fact, the absolute coolest thing happens. So I'm doing this anthology called Robot Uprisings. You know,
stick to what you know, man. Variation of a theme.
Yeah, and I'm doing another one actually that is still cooking, but I'm going outside of robots.
Okay.
And also, it bears mentioning that Amped, in my latest novel, has no robots. It's all about neural implants.
I'm about a quarter of the way through it and loving it, by the way. Like still loving it. Yeah.
No robots though, so you know I went there, but so like, you know, I was in academia for a long time, and there's this guy named John McCarthy, and he coined the term artificial intelligence in like 1956, right? Like original super old school guy who created all of this, right? All of his stuff is because of him and his colleagues figuring out that you could put intelligence into machines. And obviously there's lots of other sort of founding fathers, but he's a founding father of AI. John McCarthy wrote one fictional story, and I found it, I tracked it down, and he's passed away. But I called his widow, and I was like, I really want to publish the one piece of science fiction that this guy wrote.
By the guy who coined the term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so his family is really awesome.
I just, like, that is incredible. Like, in the pantheon of, like, internet celebrity, there's Nyan Cat, the guy who created the first smiley face.
Oh, you know who
with
we
a colon
have?
and a parentheses.
That's Scott Fallman. That's a Carnegie Mellon guy.
Yeah, there you go. And then there's coining artificial intelligence.
The term, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess Spielberg,
What's I
don't know if
short about?
Spielberg threw him any dough.
Yeah,
I really doubt it.
Yeah. I'm sure the studio gave him a healthy back end off that one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's his story about?
It's called the Robot and the Baby, and it's so badass. It's basically about a future where there's personal robots that are in our homes, but they're afraid that people are going to empathize with them. So the robots aren't allowed to look too much like people. So they don't
want
they look
babies
kind
to
of scary.
attach to them and develop love. And
so this is a drug-addicted mother, single mother with a baby, and she has this personal robot that lives with her in her like federally assisted living, and the robot is not designed. The robot is basically, what he really grapples with is, what does it take to get a personal robot in your house? Well, guess what? If I knew that the fucking police department could subpoena the records that are recorded on the cameras of the personal robot, I ain't going in my house, brother.
Right.
Like, same reason I had to use anonymous binary sensors is why you're not going to have, I don't know, though. People's ideas about privacy have
that's
changing.
a conversation we have got to get into after this, but yeah.
But like,
and this was written when, by the way?
Oh, dude, he wrote it in the late 90s.
Okay,
so,
okay.
Maybe early 2000. So anyway, this robot realizes that the baby is dying because the mother is completely neglecting it. Mm-hmm. So the robot does it. So by the way, John McCarthy invented this thing called Lisp. It's a programming language for AI, right? Part of this story is Lisp code of the frame of mind that the robot is in when it determines whether it should help the baby.
Like violate the rule of I'm not supposed to look like a human, so this baby won't attach to me. But somewhere in that
baby's gonna die.
In that code, the robot goes, well, this prime directive is to uphold the law, protect this baby.
Well, and its directive is to always do what the mother says. So if you have this tool in your house, like I don't have like a hammer that I buy from Home Depot and then expect that Home Depot is going to be able to like tell my hammer what to do,
right?
Or ask my hammer everything I did in front of it or whatever, right? It's mine. It's my tool. Mm-hmm. Everything that's on the hammer, is mine. So anything that you tell the robot to do, it has to do, and she tells it, don't ever talk to Child Protective Services. You motherfucking robot. She curses at the robot a lot.
Understood, I'm sorry.
So the robot doesn't exhibit any emotion or anything, but it makes this decision to save the baby's life, and it goes and puts electric blanket over its like cold metallic tentacles, and it paints its face with makeup, and it just rocks the baby.
This is the Mrs. Doubtfire of Roombas.
It's oddly sweet.
Yeah.
And what's funny is it's sweet even though the immediately preceding this action that it takes to save the baby's life is literally Lisp code that shows so everything that a lot of times different outcomes are judged by something called a utility score. So a high utility means you do it, and a low utility means you don't. It's like a reward, or it's just a way of programming
risk-reward
behavior.
calculation. Yeah.
Yeah. So the utility score for like saving the baby's life is like 0.01. It's math. You realize it's math. It's helping the baby because it's math, not because it's emotional or anything.
Right.
So it takes the baby outside, and most of the story takes place. Various police officers and like Child Protective Services talking to this robot that won't let this baby go because it's not been told not to talk to these people or to let the baby go, but it also has decided to save the baby's life. Anyway, man, it's just an incredible story.
That's fascinating.
And I had to edit the thing because he's never written any fiction, so like all the dialogue is like, just little details. I didn't edit anything substantially like of the
There's no
story.
robot gang rape, even though your manager was like, "This is the hotness,
Buddy,
kid.
I'm telling you what, you get that in there, it's gonna be a
Put
home
some
run.
Lisp code in there and have them call some friends over. They're gonna run a train on that, mother."
Oh yeah, all the new screenplays have Lisp code in them now.
It's the hottest thing.
John, what have you done? So anyway, I mean,
So you got permission to
Yeah.
put it in the anthology. And then,
Oops.
oh,
really great. His family's really great, and just
for those who don't know, that was your equivalent of this interview's over. You just grabbed the mic and spiked it on the ground.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry
did.
if I upset you by insulting Lisp code. I didn't
we're
mean
just
to do that.
testing how tough.
Let's get into the near future though of robotics and technology, because you said that when you find yourself maybe getting a little pessimistic about it or a little concerned, you force yourself to think good thoughts about our cheery, rosy future. But
Well,
I mean, we're kind of fucked, right? I mean, it's
No,
going to
no,
get really
no, no.
cool. Like Google Glass is going to be awesome. And
Really?
I think so. You don't think?
you think that?
I do.
Segue. Next
I do.
segue.
No. Let's get into it, because here's the reports that I'm reading about it now that people have only had it for like a week are everybody's basically saying like what Robert Scoble said. I will never go another day in my life without an augmented piece of technology or information technology attached to me. Like
Really?
in using it for a week, he's decided that it's that pivotal. This is going to be
it's
a
gonna
paradigm
have to
shift.
be, because there's the initial wave of people are gonna look like total doofuses. I mean, really, and also the privacy.
it will. I
shit.
mean, early adopters are going to be crazy. Oh, well, here's the thing.
Seattle
Like
already said you can't. Some bar in Seattle says don't bring that shit in here, dude.
Right,
Like
right.
I don't want to be under the camera. at
Well,
all
he
times.
already wrote like people in bathrooms weren't avoiding me. They were actually interested in what I was wearing
Hey,
and going through
want to take
TSA.
a picture of my dick?
Right, yeah, I mean, it's like, well, and normally I have to fuss with my cell phone to do that, but now I can just look down at it. Now I have two hands free to try to find it, and
You
then
know
once
what?
I locate it, I can tweet it out.
Has anybody? Okay, super sad true love story. Gary Sheingarten. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Freaking genius. Great. Awesome book. Highly recommend it.
Super Sad Love Garden?
Super
or-
sad true love story.
Super Sad
Also
True Love
a
Story,
great
I don't know.
title.
Yeah.
It is a super sad true love story. And it's all about a future where everybody wears these pebble things around their necks that do exactly what Google Glass do. And what's funny is half the people in the world are live blogging everything that's going on. So they go out with their friends and it's like live blogging. And it's like, it's Chris Anderson's long tail. They've got like 20 people that are following them, but like, for whatever reason, they've accumulated these, group of people in the world that are watching everything they do.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Have you seen Black Mirror, the Channel 4 series?
No, I have heard a lot about
my
it.
Lord,
I
that's
know.
so right up your alley. That breaks my heart. Please fire up a BitTorrent as soon as possible and watch them, because it deals with like, okay, what's going to happen with Google Glass now? Yes, people are going to look like douchebags, but that's people who had like pictures of people in the 80s with cell phones, and it was a giant briefcase and a huge antenna they were holding to their head.
Then you look at the Segway, and it never really caught on because you look like a doofus on it. So what's the difference? And I think the difference is benefit, right? Is it that awesome? Because it's gonna have to be. If it's just like one little cool trick, like, oh, this television's on the internet. Yeah,
sure.
That's a gimmick. Like, I don't care if my television's on the internet. Like, that actually sucked.
You don't
for,
think
like,
that's changing too?
Yeah, I think that's slowly changing.
Slowly changing,
But
yeah.
that's, I mean, you could get a TV on the internet like 10 years ago and it was totally pointless. You'd hit like that in-app, like that in-TV app.
But to be fair, I think that was because the processor was like the same power as your coffee maker's processor, and internet content was fucking terrible.
But it was before its time.
Way
That's
before
all
its
I'm
time.
saying.
Yeah,
It was premature.
So do you think it's too before its time?
I have to put one on before I realize it, but I think it's going to be generational for sure, and it's probably going to be a lot more urban.
Yeah.
And I mean, sure, there'll be lots of people in San Francisco wearing Google Glass.
You don't think it's going to hit Tulsa? You don't think it's going to?
Oklahoma? Yeah, I don't.
What about when farmers can get augmented reality information by staring at certain crops or animals and have diagnostics pop up?
Yeah, I just gave a
whatnot?
robot talk to Hermiston, which is over in eastern Oregon, about 3 hours out to its farmland.
Yeah.
And I talked a lot about how I think autonomous vehicles are already here, obviously, and how they're going to be big. You know what? Nobody was digging it. Like,
really?
I don't. Obviously, farmers use lots of technology. The best GPS units, period, are on combines, to get them so they can harvest perfect lines. But it's going to be a stretch to have them use it in their personal life. They'll use anything for work if
Sure.
it makes them money, you know, but this is not that. This is making somebody else money. This is making Google
Well,
money.
this is going to make Google a lot of money in the near future,
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, down the road. And near future, I don't know, but
I actually have a short story where it's just like this. It's called the Immersist, and people can get, you know how you can get free internet if you're willing to look at ads?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can get a free Google Glass sent to you as long as you're willing to trade in your mother's face for like a Coca-Cola ad.
Right.
Or trade the sky for like, you know.
When I look up, I see digital hot singles in your area want to chat. I'm
Yes.
like, oh, well, there used to be blue and cloudy. It was nice, but now it's hot singles ads.
I remember that, but hey, I got my free glasses, so that's sweet. Or you change your own body so that when people see you in this shared augmented reality, you have an ID and you have an avatar, and perhaps your avatar, instead of wearing really expensive like Xbox clothes and fitzing around with your lightsaber that you bought, like maybe you're just covered in advertisements, you know?
Right.
It's the equivalent of like getting GoDaddy tattooed on your forehead, right? Or whatever.
Golden Palace across your
that's
back
the
or
one.
whatever. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to impugn
Yeah, no.
GoDaddy.
GoDaddy puts their
with
ads
brilliant
everywhere
ads.
else, and then they lock down your domains and make it impossible to switch them out of
Does
there.
GoDaddy have the same ad campaign people as Carl's Jr.? I wonder, because
That's very similar, yeah.
It's always just a woman biting into a server and just noisily consuming it.
Gravy coming out of a thumb drive as she buys domains. It's like, what? That doesn't even make sense.
Chips just cascading down her cleavage.
Oh, I got .tv URLs caught between my nipples.
That really makes me want
Thanks,
to go get a
GoDaddy.
domain.
And yet here we are talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in license. So you are not, you're not on board for the. I mean, obviously you have
It's
to
the
use a
privacy.
pair, but
So I have a master's degree in data mining. I am completely aware of.
you're covered in data like soot. You've got the data lung. You cough up ones and zeros from all that data mining.
You know, I deserve compensation. No, but like you study what, I mean, your whole job is to figure out what you can do with this data, and it's valuable.
Right.
That's the thing. It's valuable. And people, I think, are starting to realize it, but they don't know it yet, that it's actually really, really valuable, and you're giving it away, and you're a sucker. You're being suckered.
Your personal interests and your social graph are inherently you, intrinsically you. They are all you, and yes, you're right. We are handing it over. And there are some social networks that are being developed now that are predicated on like you have your own social locker, and your tastes and your preference and your likes. Those are yours, and you can sell them if you want.
Right.
But they're yours.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I think we're going to reach a point where either there's going to be, basically, here's what happened. All those people who were doing no evil when they were 20, well, they're like fucking 35 now, or like, you know, they're getting their 40s. Those guys are not into that anymore. They're older. They're making money.
Yeah, they need private jet money.
They sold their shit. They have not lived a normal life for like decades. These people they're out there. They're not, you know, idealistic kids anymore.
Right.
They've been out of college they've been dropping out of college for years and years. And so the honeymoon's over, dude. Like all the fun that we've had with all these social networks and not making anybody money and it's a loss leader, that shit's over. We're into the down and dirty money making.
Napster
period.
was cool. You know what's really cool? DRM. A billion. Yeah, a billion Napsters. Lock it all down. No, but you're totally right. You're totally right. That for a whole generation, that honeymoon is over.
Yeah.
They got those bills to pay.
So what's going to happen?
How do we do it?
So I think that one thing that might happen is we might see the entire thing start over from a complete privacy lockdown scenario where suddenly all the exact same shit that we have now, the same social networks, the same photo sharing, all that shit is going to be on servers that mathematically, and there's lots of companies working on this, mathematically even the company can't look at it.
This is like
the police can't make a request and see it. It's like in Cryptonomicon a little bit.
Well, it's
Neil Stephenson book.
Mega Upload. You know, Kim.com. I mean, his whole new service is like, we're going to offer the exact same service, except it's so secure we don't even know what the files are.
And it has to mathematically be, and it can't be something where it's like, we've built it on an island, and we're friends with the dictator.
Right. We've got hot air balloons floating because that is international airspace, and your files are totally fine up there. The government can't fly a helicopter.
It's being overseen by a morbidly obese man in low Earth orbit. It's he's the sissa. Yeah.
There's a North Korean monkey behind the switchboard, and he will only reboot the server if he has to. Don't worry, your files are safe.
It's a monkey with just a dynamite drilled into its head. And if we hit this button, it all goes away. So I think that there could be a genesis of new.
I think so.
And I think
I'd be willing to pay for a privacy premium, so to speak.
I've already noticed, and I know that this is not secure, but here's the deal. I've got 2 incredibly cute kids. I'm pretty sure they're the cutest kids in the world.
I didn't want to say anything, but they are. They actually are. I've done the research. I've crunched the numbers.
You did it?
Scientific. They're adorable.
But
They don't know how to play Connect 4, though. I'm looking at it right now, and clearly someone connected 7 or 6. I don't know if that's crazy.
They're bananas over the Connect 4. I've never lost, though, I'll just tell you that. The kid's almost 3, so she's catching up. But my point is, I'm one of probably maximum 24 people who gives a shit about how adorable my kids are. And also, I don't really want pictures of my kids going into Zuckerberg's algorithm so that he can start building face recognition algorithms to track their fucking consumer predilections over the course of their lifetimes.
And you give them 12 points of data from those 12 photographs, and don't worry, you don't have to give them any more because they've got the aging algorithm built in. They're going to know exactly what those kids are looking like, what clothing they're wearing, where they're wearing it based off the GPS tags. They're going to know how to sell them just fine.
They're going to be doing gait recognition of your kid in a fucking mall, and that's going to be happening in 20 years.
It's happening. It's happening now.
There's
Absolutely
people that are racing to do that because there's money involved. And so I don't want to I'd never put pictures of my kids on Facebook, right? I mean, that's just I think just dumb. In my opinion, people do it. They get stuff out of it. I understand. Your family's there. Everyone's plugged in. So there's this thing on the iPhone now. You can do photo streams, right?
Right.
So this to me is a bridge. Obviously, I'm giving it to Jobs' ghost instead of giving it to whoever, but somebody's going to get it. Right now, I think there's going to be a future crop of devices where nobody's going to get it, where I'm going to have a secure app that it won't be able to be an app, will it? Right? That's on.
Yeah, it piggybacks on someone else's operating system where they're going to be able to crawl
It'll
anything,
have to be on
or
Android
it's still
or
going. But isn't it ultimately still being uploaded through a Verizon backbone or a Google backbone where there's that NSA Y splitter where it makes a copy of everything? Aren't we ultimately already at that point?
If they have to, if I'm actually, and this is a really interesting topic, I think. I'm more afraid of I'm more afraid of corporations
than the government,
I am
right?
of. My future nightmare dystopia is much more Paul Verhoeven, like RoboCop, privatize, than it is, the government locking down and cracking down. People in the United States are just too vocal and they have too many guns.
And we cling to them.
Yeah, well, we do. But, so for me, I see this photo stream. I can share those pictures.
Sorry, I'm pointing to as we're talking about technology getting ever intrusive. I'm pointing to the limp lavalier microphone.
Let's make sure it gets every word.
I don't want to miss it. This would be the most tragic thing. I'm going to ask you now if this turns out to be a bust, if we can have a conversation again.
Yeah.
Because this is. I mean, I feel like we're scratching the surface anyways, and I would hate for this to be a shitty MP3. But so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
So anyway, I mean. I'm just saying that with the photo stream thing, I can actually share targeted to just the people I want. I can add them, I can take them off. And I take a lot of candid photographs on the iPhone. Obviously, it's what you have all the time.
Right.
And kids are being cute all the time. And boom, that scratches that itch, dude. And I compartmentalize that because guess what? The flora and fauna of this sort of online sharing world has blossom. It's proliferated. I don't have to just use a catch-all like Facebook. And trust me, Facebook they want to do everything.
Oh, sure. Well, Apple wants to be the catch-all too, so does Google.
That's why they keep buying all the other little companies that pop up that could. But here's the deal. The company that is business model says the reason our business works is because it's private. They're immune to being acquired by any of these bullshit companies that want all your data. So they're
immune until it's time to sell, and then their license agreement changes, right?
But what's the value?
Right.
If your whole business model is predicated on I joined you because it's private.
Sure.
You can't get bought.
Well,
and
I
then
guess.
expect.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I would switch services if I was paying because that's the
yeah.
reason it was there. But I guess they're banking on the fact that it just works and I'm already on it.
Or you
so
get a critical mass.
I'll still
and it's
use
like
it.
too
Yeah,
much
exactly. Now
hassle.
you can't leave. I'm embedded in all your systems. But
Oh, yeah.
what's interesting is that these scenarios that you're describing, which I tend to agree with actually, they're predicated on you making the decision. You've decided, I'm not going to tweet that photo of my child. I'm not going to Facebook that photo.
Yeah.
The whole point of Google Glass is that
Yeah,
we are all.
they take away all your decisions.
You don't have a say as to whether or not someone's wearing that and passes you on the street and is live streaming or hits a button or decides this is what's going out
Which
there.
is why there's a good chance they'll be socially.
Do you think they'll be ostracized, or do you think there will be? Yeah.
I think certain generations of people will ostracise. Those
We were just.
folks.
I was chatting
What
with my
about if you
girlfriend
go
last
to
night, and I'm like,
work?
if we're sitting down at dinner and you're wearing your Google Glass, on one hand, I can think of a scenario where that Google Glass got us to the sushi restaurant on time because it gave me GPS, and I checked in with Open Table. I'm just going through like use case scenarios.
Yeah.
I sit down and I go, "You look lovely." I snap my photo. But if we're having a conversation throughout all of dinner and you're wearing glasses and I'm wearing glasses, I don't know that I'm comfortable. I don't know that.
And people are assholes. People
Right?
are saying mean things. They're saying
Right.
slightly racist things all the time, and they're
all these Legos look the same.
Yeah,
Whoa,
like that. You know,
easy.
it's like whoa, buddy.
They're
Like,
people.
There's a recording here.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
people are pretty. You could be pretty terrible. Is it going to enhance society, or is it going to create pockets where the most vile shit comes out, and then you're worried about being back in that society where everybody's wearing the glasses?
People will fall into making mistakes that are going to go global and stuff. I'm not for the record, by the way, I'm not totally against it. I think that the engine, that drives all of this is sort of sad because there's nothing a person likes better than a mirror, Like, oh boy, if it's all about
a mirror
me,
or a megaphone, which is, I guess, one
and
of
that's
the same,
what
right?
these are,
Yeah.
right? So you're just looking at yourself, man, and there's nothing more fascinating. It's a little sad, and that it's so self-absorbed that way. But that's what it's about. That's the engine that drives all this, and I would never underestimate that engine.
Right. It's powered a lot before.
If you look at the human brain, like we're social animals. This is catering to what we're all about. Like this is just a different dimension to what we do, what we're good at. And so it's no surprise, that it's going to be really popular. I think there's ways for it to work out. I think there's ways for Google Glass type stuff to work out in a positive way. But it definitely involves a lot of change.
I was going to say, there's a whole lot of gray area to live in until we get to the point where we know what the repercussions of developing these technologies and these services.
You just tell me. It's just an interesting thought experiment. Okay, I assume most people are similar. I actually have about 2 or 3 really good friends, right? Like my guy friends that I will just call every
They're
week.
going to know everything, hear everything, the real way it is.
Your people,
Yeah.
like you're close, and then
You're
have
besties with testes.
Yes. Then if it doesn't rhyme, I don't trust it.
Exactly.
So like,
And you said it needs an acronym or it has to rhyme. Those are the 2 most important things.
and if you get both, then you're killing it. And then you have like you're sort of slightly outside, but maybe you're friends with other couples too. So just imagine like your half dozen best friends. One of them shows up with the Google Glass, like to the bar.
Right.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Imagine, what are you going to do? Are you going to say,
I've
wow.
had this conversation with my friends because my friends are all, not all, but a large majority are the early adopting tech-centric type, and we all love technology. And, we're the ones who go, well, here's a cool concept for a new podcast using glass, or here's a TV show we want to make with just showing perspectives and giving people these things and putting them in a room or whatever. Like, we've spun our wheels like that, but I've asked the same question. Like, what happens when it's time to get busy with the girlfriend? And do you? Of course you have to take the glass. Is that going to be a method of foreplay? Is it going to be like, no? Leave those Google glasses on tonight, sweetheart.
These on the shelf.
Yeah,
right
exactly. Or leave them on, sweetheart.
I want to watch myself through your eyes.
God, I don't want to see that
Come
at
on.
all.
You remember City of Lost Children where the guy like plugs him in and it kills him? Oh,
I
so
think
awesome.
I hope future sex is like Demolition Man. Remember that? Sandra Bullock having sex with Sylvester Stallone with the headsets on where they're beaming images of themselves in sexual ways to each other.
I've only seen that once and I just watched it.
Do yourself a favor and watch it 12 more times
right from the
it's
beginning.
it's absolutely amazing. We've had that conversation. What happens when someone enters the room? Hey guys, what's up?
Hey.
I think the first time that happens is going to be, oh cool, let me try those. Let me see what that's like. Great. I think very quickly it's going to be, hey, are those on right now? I know you took them off and they're on the bar. Are those on right now? Is this being recorded? Is this a thing? Because I'm not going to feel comfortable.
Thinking about it, I feel like it's going to be the sort of thing that's going to have certainly areas like, techie San Francisco, man. I think is going to be a place where this stuff is going to probably
I think you were right when you said metropolitan.
But
it's going to be cities.
I like dive bars. I always have. I lived in Pittsburgh for when I turned 21 until, I was through my 20s. Like, they've got the dirtiest, nastiest, diviest bars. Like, I learned how to play foosball from, like, coked out, middle-aged, it was great. This is my thing. If there's plywood on the walls, then I'm comfortable there.
There are guys with eye patches and bad tattoos.
Yeah,
I want to learn
if you walk
foosball
into that
from
place with fucking Google glasses on your head, come on.
Right.
You're going to get them slapped off your face.
Right.
Like, period. Especially if it's late and people have been drinking. That's going to be the initial reaction. I don't know how long that'll continue, but it's a little Also, they're expensive, right?
Yeah, some of the teardowns.
I don't get my cell phone out when I'm in a shitty neighborhood, right? Like,
right.
You don't take out your big new fancy whatever and like lord it around.
Right, sure. Yeah, people are going to be snapping them. And that's the other thing is that right now at least, there's no lock controls or privacy protections. So someone's going to be on a subway getting their Twitter feed or the news headlines. And as those doors are about to close for the subway to head to the next stop, someone's going to yank a pair of glasses off the head and then suddenly have access to your email, your
and
Google+.
The judge is going to say, what were you thinking? He's like, I just wanted to see naked pictures of his girlfriend.
I can't wait to shout, okay, glass, Google hentai. Like, I can't wait to just shout that at random places, and know that that's being put into their search history and that's being out there.
Blending of our virtual worlds and our, you can imagine.
There's going to be some awkward missteps, and we're going to be recorded on those awkward missteps and be a part of them and get to watch them. They're going to be happening this year.
Yeah. It's going to be fascinating. Living in Portland. Oh, this is a hipster area. I'm really curious whether it will integrate into the hipster aesthetic, and I fucking doubt it.
Do you think
it's all about retro? It's not about.
Well, someone's gonna make a augmented reality something app for it that is like 70s vision or 60s vision. And when you look and there's birds on the walls now. Not to borrow from Portlandia, but it's like someone's gonna come up with the app that makes it cool to have that now. It makes my Huffy look like a
bicycling.
Pixie. It's bicycle app.
If you can do anything that helps people while they're any kind of task that they can do while they're cycling.
Hard to look at your phone or to pull it out to record something, but if you're wearing Google Glass,
that will catch on for sure with cyclists. Oh my God, this is really going to be our future. I kind of just want to poo-poo it and say it's going to be like the Segway, but I don't think so.
Well, even if this iteration hardware-wise is going to go the way of the Segway, that's fine. I think the concept of wearable computing and an always-on interface, I think we're clearly steamrolling down that road. And there's nothing that's going to stop that. Like, whether it's in a contact or beamed into your head or Oculus Rift style 3D things, a stereoscope, I don't know. Like, we're clearly heading in that path.
Yeah. It's going to, it'll be interesting to see what people come up with.
How long? I don't want to keep.
We've been going an hour and 16
minutes. Are you all right? What do you?
Yeah, we have to actually. We're taking off to Chelan.
We'll call it.
Beautiful Chelan, Washington.
Damn it! I feel I'm regretting that the first 10 to 15 minutes was mic checking and awkward shuffling of shirts and taking off ties. So
I don't know why we traded shirts. That was weird. I think
it's just something that we did. We didn't have to chest bump and rub though in the middle of it. But I'll edit that out. No one will ever hear that portion of it.
God,
so but I'm keeping these boxers. Thank you for that. How do people discover you? What is the best way? But it's so shitty. I was like, I want to have you sign the book, but it's on a Kindle. And
I'll give you a book. I'll float you one.
Do you prefer? Do you care? As long as people are reading, do you care if they have the book versus the Kindle?
Yeah, I don't care.
From a business standpoint, do you make money equally on both? Or if I may, I don't know how those deals.
No, that's kind of changing, I think, as people self-publish and all that. But you make about the same either way.
Because some artists are like, don't you dare download on iTunes, man. I make nothing on my song on iTunes or my movie based off their deals. Some artists are like, I make it all if you watch it on Netflix, but not if you download to own or whatever that deal structure is.
I don't think that. So Robopocalypse sold 4 times as many ebooks in the first the first couple weeks that it came out. It kind of evened out. Now it's about 1-to-1, maybe
Okay.
a few more ebooks than, but I've signed Kindles, That's something that happens now.
I love that.
Yeah.
Sign the back of my iPad. Well, that's where I read your book. That's where it's going.
Yeah, I was actually at a bar just talking to a friend, and we were talking about something about the Robopocalypse, and there was a guy on a Kindle right next to us, and he was like, "I am reading your book right now."
That's
I was
awesome.
Like, what? That's so cool.
That's incredible.
And so I signed that. But
have you had super negative reactions to the book versus the super, like with the super positive? Have you seen someone like, "How dare you say this in the future," or "Now I'm scared"? Or
you know what is sort of bums me out is like, I wrote a lot of books, right? I wrote a lot of nonfiction, little books, not for very much money, for a smaller publisher. And then I transitioned into fiction, and I wrote this 100 pages, and like it's the book that I've been wanting to write forever. Robopocalypse, I've thought a lot about. I did the whole degree in robotics. Yeah. It's fiction, it's stories. It's about the characters, but it has this very realistic world. And then it went crazy, right? Like Spielberg bought it, and then Random House bought it. My editor is the guy who edits Dan Brown. I mean, he's like top notch. I was suddenly in this new world, and then they put out the book and they promote the shit out of it, and everyone's like, sell out. Like, fuck this. It's all hype. It's all hype. Screw this guy. And I'm like, bitch, it wasn't hype when I was getting a PhD, like when I was busting my ass in college. But you know what? I mean, that's all water under the bridge. And I hate if it sounds like you're bragging about some stupid education or whatever, because it's just like a way that I wasted time in my 20s, to avoid getting a job.
Wasted is maybe an adjective I wouldn't use to describe it, but sure.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But it's like you gotta, just doing something. But anyway, like so that you feel like, oh, I did great. Like they're really gonna promote this book, and then there's a lot of people that just anytime there's too much promotion on something, they say it's too much.
The moment you have a billboard,
too much
clearly
hype.
You sold your soul. It's too much hype.
Yeah, it's too much hype. I get it. I do the same thing. But now I try to catch myself and go, or like when Spielberg delayed the movie earlier this year, people like the Chicago Tribune, like they're calling me going, hey, how do you feel about your movie being delayed? And you're like,
are you in a fetal position in the corner of your place right now? Like, are you covered in your own tears and blood?
Yeah, it's like I feel bad about that. I was really kind of excited about that.
Author feels bad. Spielberg made author feel bad.
But then I think like of all the times I've gleefully been like, hold on, I gotta watch this post-game interview with Kobe. He just lost so hard. And it's like, there is this impulse to, you wanna see people when they're on top, and you wanna see them when they're on bottom. Right. That's also a whole other thing, I suppose, about the internet porn. But you want to see people whenever they're doing really well.
Yeah, I'll see people wherever they are in the sandwich of bodies. I don't care if they're on top or bottom.
Yeah, it's just arms and legs.
I don't care. Yeah.
And so I get that impulse, and that's kind of when you're on the other end of that. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced both sides of that.
I've been the guy that's reveled in someone else's highest highs. For the most of my life, their lowest lows. I mean, misguided and wrong, but that's where I've been the guy that reveled, and have now always been, but now realize, oh yeah, on the other side of that coin, that's a pretty terrible place to be. Like
and it's funny that you can just be completely oblivious. That's
oblivious.
But whatever. And you know what? Having the person talk about it on the radio does not help. So the real answer is just to shut the fuck up, suck it up, and like move on and be happy.
On that note, how do people discover you, good sir? Do you prefer them to go to a Twitter, a Tumblr, a Facebook, a Friendster page, your old Angel Fire account?
Just share my Google Glass feed.
Done. Subscribe to it.
24/7. You want to see my wife naked? Like whatever. No, I'm online. My website is danielhwilson.com, and I'm on Twitter at DanielWilsonPDX. That's the Portland.
Portland. I didn't know for the longest. I was like, oh, PDX. And people are like, you're in PDX. I'm like, yeah, man, Portland. It's extreme. I didn't know what the X was for. I thought it was like a brand of Go-Gurt that no one told me. Like, I didn't know. I really was like, was this a marketing thing from the 90s that just held on? I'm like, cool, man, PDX. Like, no, it's the airport.
That's really funny.
I encourage everybody to read everything. As I told you, like, I am a fan, a recent one, and I'm so excited to go through the back catalog. And I'm currently knee deep in Amped. And
cool.
it's like, it's literally interfering with my sleep patterns on a crazy level. I think the e-ink isn't as soothing as an actual page.
Yeah.
For some reason, that white light allows me to stay up a lot longer.
Yes.
And when that counter tells me 10 minutes left in chapter or 15 minutes left in chapter, I'm like, fuck it, I could keep reading a little bit more.
Burn through
So,
that.
but it's also, I mean, as much as it's a testament to the Kindle, it's more a testament to your writing.
Thank
I
you.
am a huge, huge fan. Cannot wait for the movie. And thank you again for inviting me into your gorgeous home, but for being so patient with this technology.
Yeah, let's hope it works out.
I fucking hope it works. And regardless, when you're back in LA next time, please come by the old Ice House. I'd love to get proper video and talk about the books specifically in depth a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then by that time, we'll both be wearing Google Glass.
Well, I'm
so-
a vet. You do it in where Rogan
in the
does
house,
his
the
thing,
house
so-
that Rogan built. Yeah, Brian Redband, yeah.
That's a scary room. There's a lot going on in there.
Those walls
stuff's
could
always
talk.
accumulating.
It would be a lot of mumbled screams because the mouths were full
yeah,
of appendages and anger.
Well, all right, man. Thank you so
again.
much.
Appreciate it.
Okay, cap off the podcast. This is the other bookend. So what you need to do, what I need you to do, please, is to thank them for listening.
Okay.
Apologize again for my neurotic behavior and overwhelming concern over the audio quality.
All right.
And then tell them to read anything and everything that Daniel has ever lent his talent to, because it's fucking amazing, and he's a brilliant author and truly an awesome dude and dad, and has a cool cat and a great loft.
I feel like maybe you should just play that. That was good. That was pretty good. Should we smoke weed before dinner?
You know that's staying in, right?